Well, hello, DCO Nation, and welcome to another DCO Live. I appreciate you guys stopping by here on a Thursday night to talk up a little inshore saltwater fishing. Heath, I know you're on. You jumped on, relaxing and watching some DCO. I appreciate that, buddy. I also want to, Everett just jumped on. How you doing? I also want to give a special shout out to the guys on Facebook. We are now streaming on the YouTube channel and on my Facebook Dead Calm Outdoors. So you can catch me on either side. So if you guys are off somewhere and you want to check it out on Facebook, go to Dead Calm Outdoors and you can actually watch the stream there too. So, and you can also put in questions from Facebook. So feel free to drop a comment in. I'll get it and we'll pop it up on the screen. So guys, remember, Anthony, hey, how you doing? Remember, guys, this is your show. So if you guys have any questions, comments, throw them up there and we will definitely get to it tonight. A couple of things that's going on that I've got coming up is I am actually going to make a guest appearance on the Release Over 20 monthly giveaway. They hold that every month, and it is going to be Monday, April 7th. So this Monday coming up, and it's at 7:30 p.m. And so I get to jump on there, and I'm going to chat it up with those guys for a little while. And so it was awful nice of them to invite me on to check out their show. But one thing I want to do is ask, you guys, why don't you guys jump on the live Monday and let's flood their show with people. Let's get a ton of people on there and let's really support them Monday. So that's Monday, April 7th at 7:30 p.m. The Release Over 20 monthly giveaway. And again, I will be on there. So if you can't get enough of me, then you guys can jump on there. But also Trilogy Outdoor Magazine, the April issue is out. Hey, Captain Bob jumped on. How you doing, buddy? Trilogy Outdoor Magazine just dropped their April issue. And so I do have an article in there. It's about the Murrells Inlet Flounder coming back in for the spring. So, pick up a copy of that. I know you can pick it up like at Bass Pro Shop. It's free. It's usually after you check out, there's some little racks kind of as you're exiting Bass Pro. They've got some there. And honestly, I don't know where else they distribute, but I know they're all over the place. So make sure that you check, all the outdoor places. I'm sure they probably got some in some bait shops and other places. I just don't know. The only place that I usually pick it up is Bass Pro when I'm up that way. So guys, pick that up, check out that article, and let me know if you like it. And, and maybe if there's any topics that you guys want me to write about. So I'm just kind of jumping back into writing. I used to write for Walk-A-Mall Outdoors. And then Trilogy ended up purchasing Walk-A-Mall Outdoors. And I kind of fell away from it. I wanted to concentrate a little bit more on the YouTube stuff and get the live going. So I kind of backed off. And Captain Inglis, he reached out to me and wanted to know, if I would start writing for him again. And I said, yes, I would. So I'm going to do that for probably about the next year and see how that goes. So Steve is on, Michael's on, Pisces is on. Man, we got a bunch of guys on. Hang on, Pisces, he's already thrown up a question. And if I missed a question, let's throw it up here. It says, where can I fish in Murrells Inlet that is more marsh and less inlet? Okay, so if you can get onto the north end, I am going to say, where the marsh walk is, where wahoos and all of that, that north end is going to be more marsh than inlet. Also down at the south end, you can get into more marshy areas than inlet. So, pull up Google Earth, look for those flats areas, and around Drunken Jack Island, those are some good marsh areas back in there. So yeah, definitely check all of that out. Chris Mitchell is on, and he is actually, I think, my first Facebook guy. Chris, appreciate it. Says, I'm going to be putting in at Oyster Recycling in the morning. Come on, let's go. Yeah, so hey, we're going to be going over some fishing reports towards the end, to kind of let you guys know weather, tide, and all that kind of stuff, and maybe the majors and minors. So we'll definitely jump on that. So stick towards the end, and we will hit all of that. So one thing that I wanted to start out with, and I haven't addressed this, with it being the beginning of the season, I usually like to go over kayak safety. Unfortunately, I think it's been about a month ago, there was a kayaker on Lake Marion that lost his life. And, we get these heartbreaking stories usually once or twice a year. And unfortunately, when they found the kayak, the PFD was on his seat. Now, I don't know why he wasn't on the kayak. I don't know the situation around it. But guys, I want to go over safety, especially with the beginning of the season. You guys know that I am a big believer in safety, and especially the PFD. Matter of fact, I was going to wear my PFD tonight for the live show just to kind of, push that point across. But I was running a little bit late, and I didn't go out, and I didn't get it out of the back of my truck. But you guys see during my videos, I've always got my PFD on. It is absolutely essential. Wear it. It will save your life. Please wear it. If it's wrapped around your seat, it is not doing you any good. If you fall out of that kayak, you don't know what's going to happen. That kayak could flip around, hit you in the head, knock you out. You could be unconscious. So please, wear that PFD. Also have a whistle. It is actually mandatory. SCDNR will ticket you if you do not have a whistle on you when you're out on the water. So you need to have some kind of a noisemaker, and a whistle is what I have on mine. So make sure you have a whistle. Also, another very important thing that I do every time before I go out on the water is I have a float plan. I talk to my wife and I tell her I'm leaving out of oyster recycling and I'm going to be gone, 4 or 5 hours. I should be off the water by noon or 1 o'clock. And if you don't hear from me by 2 or 3, there's probably something wrong. I usually will call her or text her when I'm off the water. So, file a float plan with somebody. If they don't know where you're at, something goes wrong, they don't know where to start looking. So a float plan, talk to somebody, talk to a buddy, and let somebody know you're going to be out and your time frame. So the next thing is have a phone on you. I always have a phone. It's on me. These new iPhones, they're waterproof. You can dunk them in the water and they're waterproof. So have your phone on you. You can make a call. Usually the coverage is good pretty much anywhere anymore. Yeah, there's some dead spots, but take that phone with you. Also a flag. Have a flag on your kayak to make your visibility a lot more, especially for these boats, these inlets and passes, and the ICW. There's a ton of boat traffic, and that orange flag is, its color and its movement, and movement will catch somebody's eye first before color does. So make sure you have a flag. I always carry a knife with me. That's something that may be personal preference, but I always carry a knife. You never know when you're going to need one. Lights for early morning or early in the evening. Make sure that you are visible. The next thing, well, really the last thing I want to talk about, because we could probably talk safety all night long, but the last thing is write your info on your kayak. Name and address, your phone number, and maybe even the phone number of your wife or a buddy. Because if you are flipped out of that kayak and somebody comes across that kayak, at least the information is on there And again, they know where to start. They can make some phone calls. They can figure out where you're at. If you filed a float plan with somebody, they can say, yes, he took off out of oyster recycling. And so, make sure not only your phone number, but maybe a phone number of, again, your spouse, or maybe even a good buddy. And again, those are just some things that I wanted to kind of touch on. But, safety is paramount when we're out on the water. It's only going to get busier as the year goes on. So, take care of yourself and make sure that you arrive back safely. I've been getting a lot of comments. I apologize for not, jumping in and reading these, but I keep, I see things like Daniel Kaysen. Hey, Daniel, glad you jumped on here. He said, use Life 360 app is a good idea. Absolutely. So if you guys don't know what Life 360 is, it basically tracks you. Usually a couple of people have to have it on their phone, and they can pinpoint where you're at on Life 360. We did use it for our kids for a little while. Excuse me. When they were 16, 17 years old, 15, 16, just to see where they were at. Once they reached, 17, 18 years old, we figured they were pretty much adults, and we removed it from their phone. But Life 360, absolutely. That's a great idea. Daniel also said, the Coast Guard will give you a kayak info sticker. Yes, they will. So you can also, get one of those stickers that has all that information and stick it onto your kayak. Anthony Miller said, is there any place to rent a fishing kayak in or around the inlet? Yes, there is. I know there's a place down in Pawleys, and I can't think of the name of that place. And oh man, you caught me. I know, again, in Murrells Inlet, there is a place that you can rent kayaks, and it is across the street or real close to Perry's Bait and Tackle. Oh man, and I can't think of the name of it. I'm sorry, Anthony, but yes, there is some places. I'm sure if you just Everett, Pawleys Island Kayak Rentals. Thank you. Absolutely. Yep, Pawleys Island Kayaks. I appreciate that, guys. Yeah. And the one in Murrells Inlet, again, I'm sure that if you Steve, you guys are on top of it tonight. Steve said Black River Outfitter or Surf the Earth. Yep. So guys, I appreciate it. Man, sometimes, you guys throw in some questions that throw me for a little bit of a loop. I never thought about, where to go to rent some kayaks, but yeah, there are places out there. And oh my gosh, Jelly Baits, Jay is on. My brother, how are you doing? Man, oh man. So it is actually, the comments are coming in fast and furious right now. But Jay says, as a survivor of a bad kayak accident, I always have a marine radio with me. You can learn how to properly use pan and other communication techniques that will save your life and others with you. Yeah. So Jay and Kelly went out one day, and did both of you flip kayaks? I can't remember, but I know you did, and was getting kind of swept out and away. And search and rescue, I think, ended up getting you, if I remember the story correctly. A jet ski came out. But yeah, Jay knows firsthand about flipping kayaks, and and how dangerous it can be and how quickly it can turn. So Jay, buddy, I'm glad to see that you jumped on tonight, man. You're the best. So let me, almost dropped my my beverage here tonight. So let's jump into what has been happening out on the water. So I got out on the water a couple of times. I went out with Heath one day, and then I ended up going out on Sunday. So what I am seeing right now is there is definitely a shrimp hatch going on. So there are some small shrimp out in the inlet, and there are some small glass minnows. So if you were with us last weekend, or excuse me, last week, when Captain Jason Burton was on, he was telling us about the glass minnows and the small shrimp hatch. They are definitely out there. Man, excuse me. And I was seeing them all over the place, especially during a low tide situation around some of the oyster bars. You can see them flicking and popping. So the bait is back, okay, and that is going to start pulling the predatory fish around. So the lures that I was using was still the small profile stuff. I was using a small slim swim on a finesse eye, and I was using the kicker crab on a 1/4 ounce to keep it onto the bottom. And while using those two on the little slim swim, I was at a creek mouth and hooked into a 21.5-inch flounder. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, you saw a picture of that 21.5-inch flounder, which was absolutely fantastic. And so the big flounder are back. When I caught that, you can actually hear me on the video, which the video of that day will be dropping tomorrow, Friday at midnight, or tonight at midnight. The video of that day will be dropping. But yeah, you hear me say, oh, I think I've got a ray, because this thing was staying down and hugging the bottom. And I was not expecting a big flounder. With it being March, I didn't think the big flounder were in yet, but they are. Because then on Sunday, the last time I was out, I caught a 17.5-inch flounder. Man, I got a cough tonight. And I got a 17.5-inch flounder on the kicker crab, the Z-Man kicker crab, dragging it right on the bottom, nice and slow. Again, at a creek mouth, the water was coming in. I was dragging him with the current and just bringing him right on down, and picked up that 17.5. So guys, the water temperature is up. It's in the mid 60s. These fish are feeding. The big flounder are back in. So start going back to those areas that have a lot of structure. So oyster bars, creek mouths with deep holes with current. Look for that bait. If you're seeing shrimp flicking around grass lines or grass points, make sure you're throwing up in and around there. When Heath and I were out, we saw a ton of bait moving around. We saw some shrimp flicking up around the grass. We saw some minnows moving around, some schools of those glass minnows moving in. So guys, look for that bait. Those predatory fish are going to be working those bait balls now. So get out there and go back to, your spring and summer spots. These fish are moving back in. Heath, yeah, and even the mullet, yeah, the big mullet were jumping all over the place. And usually, Ricola, thanks, Pisces. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, the pollen has been killing me this year, but I've got a little something better than Ricola. So, yeah, so make sure. Hey, Gunnar just jumped in. Hey, man, good to see you tonight. Yeah, so go back to those drop offs and creek mouths and look for that structure. They are definitely moving back in. So hopefully that helps you guys. The flounder are moving in, the redfish. I'm hearing they are just killing it right now, and the trout are starting to fire up. Matter of fact, when I go out fishing this weekend, I'm going to be throwing some top water, see if maybe I can't pick up a trout. So it's on right now, pretty much April. Get your fish on right now because it is hot. So it's about 20 after. Guys, keep throwing up there some questions. Man, Pisces is on it tonight. He said, pollen, you mean spring snow. Man, you are. Yeah. Hey, man. Yeah. It's killing me this year. I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older or what, but man, I tell you what, it is just in my throat tonight. But I do digress. So let's jump into maybe the weekend report. So here's kind of what I'm seeing for the weekend. Saturday, I saw a low of about 65, a high of 77. Should be nice. I think it's supposed to be pretty sunny out. And winds, I saw 8 to 15. I know that's a pretty wide range, but 10 to 15 miles an hour on Saturday. The first major is early in the morning. So about 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock is going to be the first major. And then there will be a minor at 12:20 to 1:20. So keep those in mind when you go out, and so that you have lines in the water and you're fishing during those times. Those majors and minors, they do work. If you can get out first thing in the morning, that 7 to 9, right at low light, and especially with a major hitting, I think the fishing is going to be on first thing in the morning. Let me throw up the tide chart. So I threw up Friday. So that first tide chart is Friday, in case anybody is going out tomorrow, where low tide is at 9:10. And then the second day, that's Saturday. So about, that 10:20, 10:30 is going to be low tide. And then on Sunday, the low tide is going to be, what does that say, 11:30-ish? So it looks like if you guys go out, you're going to be fishing. One of my favorite tide times is the last few hours of the outgoing and the first few hours of the incoming. Boy, I apologize for the coughing, guys. We'll get through it, though. So great tides. These fish are going to be concentrated. They'll be pulled out of the grass. The bait's going to be pulled out of the grass. So get into those creeks, push back up into some of these creeks and get shallow. The redfish will be there. The water's warming up. The redfish are going to be shallow looking for these shrimp. So don't be afraid to push back into these creeks and get shallow. So I know that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be hunting some reds, and I'm going to pull my drive, and I'm going to be looking for belly crawlers. I want to see things crawling in the mud. I want to see backs out of water to see if the redfish are there, and they should be. Since the shrimp is there, the shrimp will actually almost bury themselves into the mud at low tide to hold themselves. And then that's where you get the redfish come in, nosing down and popping shrimp out of the mud. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. So guys, get out there. I love the tides for this weekend. Again, Sunday, it's almost going to be a carbon copy day. That's 68 to 77 degrees. Winds a little bit higher. I'm seeing about 12 to 20 miles an hour. So that wind is really going to jump up on Sunday. So find some protected areas, something that's going to warm up quickly and protected. I want to say the winds are going to be out of the south. So, south shorelines will be protected. Any docks, trees, homes, find those protected areas. It'll be warmed up. And the fish will be pushed up into those areas. So guys, that's the fishing report for this weekend. If you got questions, throw it up there. We still got a couple more minutes. We've got about 6 or 7 minutes. I kind of ran through that stuff pretty quickly, but yeah. So if you guys, Gunner threw up, what do you prefer to use when looking at tide information? So usually I've got an app on my phone that is actually called Tides. And I'm going to pop it up right now. And, I don't know if you can see it because of the glare, but yeah, I just went on the App Store and they've got all kinds of Tides app. That's the one that I use. That one is part of the NOAA, the NOAA tide chart. You got to dig for it a little bit, but you can get to that one. NOAA is really good. So between my Tides app, that's the one that I usually really go to. That's again, that is my go-to, and they're pretty much spot on. I mean, there may be, now the one thing about tide charts, and we don't talk about this very much, is it is pulling information from a specific buoy. So if you are a couple miles away from that buoy, depending on what side of the buoy you're on, that's tide may be a little bit earlier or a little bit later. So if my microphone, if you guys on video, if you're watching, if my microphone is the buoy and I'm north of that buoy, the tide is going to be earlier than expected. So if low tide is at 9 o'clock, if I'm north of the buoy, it may be 8:55, maybe low tide. If I'm south of that buoy, it may be 9:15 or 9:30. So be aware of what tide buoy or informational buoy that you are looking at, and wherever you're positioned, that tide may be a little bit different that's showing on your chart. Not a lot of people talk about that, but that's pretty important. If you're in the middle of two buoys, pick one out and do your best to kind of calculate where you're at, especially if you're in a boat and you want to push up into a flat and you're going to be working the low tide. You don't want to get stuck on a flat and have to sit there for 6 hours for that tide to flip back around enough to float you out. So again, if you're north of the buoy, it's going to be a little bit earlier. If you're south of the informational buoy, it'll be a little bit later than what you get. So just kind of be aware of that. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That is what I got, guys. I appreciate everybody jumping on tonight, especially my Facebook guys. Chris Mitchell, I appreciate you being my first Facebook guy. And, next week I will have a guest on. I'm kind of in between weeks. I'm booking up. I usually book up about 2 or 3 guys in a row, and then, start kicking them on. But I wanted to come on this week and really talk about, safety, with it being the start of the season, and let you guys know that the big flounder are back. So wherever you go this weekend, you don't be afraid to target some flounder, because they are there. I caught them. So Pisces said it's a good habit. I'm going to throw it up there right here. It's a good habit to lead a tide by 30 minutes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you just never know. Absolutely. That's a great tip. I appreciate that. I think did I see Keith jump on? Keith McGee? Hey, great to see you. Sorry, I never gave you a shout out. Port City Kayak Angler is on. That's awesome. Guys, this community is really growing. I'm super excited about what's going on here at DCO Live. If there's any topics that you guys want me to cover, shoot me something on Instagram or message me on Facebook. I'd be more than happy to throw it up and talk about it during the week. If you're at work and, you can't get fishing off your mind, you're like, man, I want to, let's talk about this on Thursday. Hey, shoot it over to me. So I am absolutely open for that. If there are any guests that you would like to see on here, if I can contact them and they're willing to jump on, then I will definitely have them on. I am, working on trying to get 2, 3, I'm looking at 4 people right over there on my little notepad right now. Hopefully for the next month, I'll have some guests lined up. But again, Monday, Release Over 20 monthly giveaway, April 7th, 7:30. I will be the guest on there. Guys, let's flood their podcast. Let's jump on there and show them all the support. Those guys are absolutely fantastic. And if you're not submitting your releases, why aren't you doing it? They're doing monthly giveaways. There's baits, there's Z-Man stuff, there's slick lures and shirts and hats and all kinds of stuff. They do a random drawing. So jump on there, support those guys. And guys, if that is all we got, I am going to go ahead and bid you all farewell, and I will see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. I will see you next week.